All right.
You ready?
Is that on?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so we're just gonna go through some couple of different parts and just make sure that we catch all the little things that we need. I think the first thing would just be just kind of a concise timeline of from college into pastoring. So really, this would be the purpose of this would be kind of a transition. Like, I was in college, I was doing this was happening, and after working a few years in ministry, I got asked to come on and be the senior pastor.
Okay.
I was this year.
Brief?
Yeah, but one.
Yeah, like a summary.
Yeah, a little summary.
Okay.
So let's start with college.
So yeah, I graduated college in 2000, and I immediately went and started working at my dad's church and did that for about 4 years before I got this call from the church in Omaha. And we went in 2004 to become the senior pastor of Kingsway Christian Church in Omaha. Is that too brief?
That's pretty good. We'll take it again. I think what's more important than years is age.
Okay.
I think that's easier to track.
Yeah.
So so it's all good. Well, let's just take it again. So talk me through. I don't think we need to know the name of the church. I think the location though is important.
I would say even go back to feel like you were called to ministry. Like
Okay.
16-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Start there.
So just kind of high level timeline it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
But try to be conversational about it and not
Okay.
just so it can be a little longer than like what you just did.
Yeah, that's good. That's right. Okay, so let's start with you feel like you're called to ministry.
Yeah. So at 16, I just feel this incredibly clear call to ministry. And from that point, I could see the path out in front of me. And so as soon as I graduated high school, I went off to Bible college and did a 5-year degree there and trained to preach and trained in the New Testament and got a lot of opportunities to minister while I was there, but was thrilled when I graduated to leave school and go and immediately start working as an associate with my dad's church. And that's where I had grown up. I knew the people. And my dad was so cool. He allowed me to preach on a regular basis. And I got a ton of great experience there and enjoyed that season with my dad. But at 27, I got the call that I'd been hoping for, that I'd been wanting. And it was a chance to take over as the senior pastor of a very healthy, growing church in Omaha, Nebraska. And so I didn't hesitate. I mean, I jumped at that. It wasn't because I wanted to leave my dad. It was because it was time for me to be the head guy. It was time for me to be the leader and to start working in a church and making the decisions that I felt like the church needed for that season of my life. A little stumbly there at the end, sorry.
Just talk me through, I got the call to be a senior pastor.
Yeah, so...
You were with your dad?
Yeah, so I'm working with my dad, and I get the call from this search committee from a church in Omaha, Nebraska, and they had heard my name in a couple of different places. They came down and heard me preach, and after hearing me preach one time, they said, "We want you to come up. We want you to meet our team. We really think you'd be a good fit at our church." And wow, I mean, how excited was I at 27 to be taking on a church larger than any church my dad had ever pastored. It wasn't like I was competing with my dad. Love my dad, respect my dad incredibly, but it represented a validation of, boy, I'm on the right track. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And so I get this call to be a senior minister, and we jump at it. And I'm thrilled about it, and I'm excited about what God's going to do through me as the head guy and not as an associate. Any closer?
That's awesome. When did you meet Shannon? When did you get married?
Okay.
Just throw that.
Yeah, we're talking about So talk to me about when you met Shannon and how you guys get married.
Yeah, so we met at college.
Who?
You want me to say Shannon?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
At least your wife.
Yeah.
So Shannon and I met in college. I believe it was the end of my sophomore year. We went on a missions trip together, and we weren't even really that interested in each other, but we got to know each other on this missions trip and became friends before we started dating. And fell in love, but I wanted to wait until after I graduated before I got married. And so the week after I graduated in 2000, Shannon and I got married, and we went on from there to begin pastoring as an associate pastor in my dad's church here in Tulsa. Good? Not long enough?
No,
Well, that's
it
great.
was-
I want to hear maybe even briefer, like your last summary, where it's like I went to. You guys met in college.
You want it to be
So-
briefer, you said, Gary?
Yeah, just like that. I had the call, and I went to Bible college,
Okay.
all that. I met my wife Shannon there. We got married the week after I graduated.
Okay.
Just like
Yeah.
almost that much.
What are we ending on?
We would go into the. I don't want to blow through all this stuff, and it's like we got a call to go pastor, and it's like, oh, you're married too. Like I want to
Okay.
hear that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so start me with what do you want to start with? Getting it feeling like
Just
meeting
that,
Shannon.
Headed to Bible college. Or,
Yeah, headed
Yeah,
to
that's
Bible
good.
college.
Okay.
And what you were doing in Bible college.
Okay.
I met my wife there. We
Yeah.
got married.
Okay. Got
So
it.
I'm in Bible college.
Got it.
Yeah. So I'm in Bible college and loving that, learning a lot, growing. And I meet my wife, Shannon, while I'm there. And a week after I graduate, we get married. And just everything's going great. We end up at my dad's church. I'm an associate pastor and I'm starting to minister, just what I felt like I was called to do. Too brief?
No, that's great with me.
You don't look happy.
No, it was good. He just has a mean face.
I'm just a jerk.
Okay, so let's. Yeah, that's good. We got that part. Okay, as one making the day that. Okay, so if we're gonna go in order, I think that we should just go. We were talking about the day things blew up, and I think that. Why don't we take a pass at it the way that you were telling it to us?
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Yep, that's good. Let's go there.
Okay.
Yeah. So the day thing, the
Yeah.
atomic bomb hit.
Okay. So on Labor Day of 2009 was the day that everything blew up in my life. We kind of refer to that as ground zero. When Shannon, let me back up. Do you want me to tell what happened?
I was
Again, she found the email.
I was
All
fine
that
with the way
stuff.
you were headed.
Yeah. I think start a little earlier of where you were.
So going to get a coffee or no?
No, not that, but kind of just of a brief description of like
Yeah.
what was happening overall in your life, of just like
Yeah.
the tension at
Yeah.
home was tough.
Right.
Like just like if someone was just picking up your story right here.
Okay.
We may or may not use that part,
Right.
but I just want to have it as it seems like
Just as a
good
safety.
option of just
Okay.
like of leading into that,
Right.
like the explosion.
So I think I'll just say this and then you can pick it up. I'll just say so things are going great at work. It's pretty tense in the house. Kind of talk me from that point.
Yeah, so I want to say this. So I find myself not really knowing how I got here, but I'm in a relationship with this woman. I'm preaching on Sunday and I'm meeting up with her during the week. And the tension and the fear of that is almost overwhelming, that somebody's going to find out, that somehow I'm going to slip, that I'm going to be found out as this fraud, living this double life. And eventually, like it always does, that happened. And it was Labor Day of 2009. And I just got up to go get coffee, which I often did on my day off. And before I could even get to Starbucks, I get this text from Shannon. And it says, "Come home, we're leaving." And, you know, when you're carrying around that fear that you're going to be found out, I just knew I was found out. She didn't say it specifically, but my heart started pounding. And I could barely breathe, and I'm going home thinking, please don't let it be what I think it is. And I pull into the driveway, and it is. It's exactly what I think it is. And she's in tears and screaming and putting the boys in the car, and they're crying. They don't know what's going on. And she's telling me that she opened up my laptop and found these emails that were impossible to lie about. And I'd always covered my tracks, but for whatever reason this morning, I think prompted by the Spirit, she picked it up and she looked, and there they were. And it was just like that moment. I remember it standing in the driveway, it was just like a bomb went off. I mean, it just, the anticipation, the buildup, the not knowing what was going to happen, the fear that this could happen, and it did. It detonated. And we kind of refer to that as ground zero, man, because when that happened, that moment, it was like my entire life was just rubble. It was like it all came down, and I was standing in the ashes and the rubble of my life from that moment, because the gig was up and that was it. You and me both.
What's going on?
Doesn't help that right in the middle of that take my watch goes beep beep.
No, it's fine. Gary, were you looking for like a different angle there?
Maybe just at the beginning of. I feel like you in the middle of that you had said what I was wanting you to say.
I think he was looking for maybe you to say like.
I'll tell you what I would want. Here's what
Yeah.
I would try to do in the edit is that we've set this up. There's a lot of tension at home, and we've not mentioned the girl at all.
Okay.
And so when you say when it's almost like when I'm going out for coffee and I get a text from Shannon.
Okay, so I don't need the stuff before that.
No, let's try it without that. But just so that this is like new information to
You'll have to say then I go back and you have to say an affair because we don't know what was going on before. So you'd have
So I would try to edit it like this, that we've set up the tension at home and all this stuff, and Labor Day I go out to get a coffee. Let's leave Starbucks out of it.
Okay.
And I get a text from my wife, and she says to come home, whatever, and that's it. That I knew she found out that
I was having an affair.
that
For the last couple of years I've been having an affair.
that I've been having an affair. Or it's like, so I rush home. I knew she found out. I get home and she's livid. The kids, she had found out that I was having an affair.
Yeah. Okay.
You can think through it for a little bit if you want. Yeah, that's fine.
I can give a run at that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't need anything leading up to that.
Now,
Okay.
I go out it's Labor Day and I go out for
Yeah.
coffee.
Okay.
So it's Labor Day 2009, and I went out to grab some coffee that morning, just like I always did on my day off. But before I can even get there, I get a text from Shannon, and it says, "Come home, we're leaving." And I just know in my gut, my heart starts pounding. And I'm hoping that it's not what I think it is. And I'm driving home, and when I get home, it's exactly what I feared most. I think it's exactly what Shannon feared most too, because I knew that she knew as soon as I saw her face and her tears and the boys getting in the van crying and asking Mommy what's going on, that she knew 2 years I've been having an affair. 2 years lying to her, 2 years betraying her. And the gig is up. Like, it's over. And that means that everything is over. And it was in that moment that just the detonation, it was the bomb went off. Everything that I had built my life to be was leveled. And I sat in the rubble of the failure.
Okay.
all right. So
Yeah.
it's over.
I don't think this story's gonna work, Lee. I don't think it's.
Let's start from the beginning. Adam.
Okay, just a couple simple things.
That was awesome, Lee.
Yeah, that was.
That was exactly what I
I
was
just needed a
hoping
few
for.
runs.
You just needed a couple runs. No, it's great. Okay, got that. Oh, okay. One of my lowest points, about 2.5 years. Oh no. One of my lowest points was a different point.
Right.
Yeah, so we're fast forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So at one of my absolute lowest points, I mean, years. Well, I better back up from that because I don't want to mess up the timeline for us. So I find myself in this wilderness, not having any clue how to fix my life. And I'm at one of my lowest points, and I'm on a plane and I'm flying back from St. Louis, a business trip. And I'm looking out the window and I have this thought. And the thought is, if this plane were to nosedive right now and go down, I don't think I would care. I would embrace it. It wasn't that I was suicidal. I didn't want to take my life. I just didn't want the life that I had. It was misery, it was pain, and it was hopeless. I couldn't see a way out. And so I'm sitting in that seat going, God, if this plane goes down, it's fine with me. Probably be better for my family anyway.
That's great.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's great. As a plane goes by, it's God. I've got here, help me out with this, Gare. I've got, it was 2.5 years before we even started taking ground. It was a hard 6 years. It's a process. So we're trying to just communicate that it didn't happen in 2 days or within a year.
It's almost like you could just set this up as we need to set up the Mountain Men trip, the inaugural trip.
Oh, yeah,
And
that too.
It had been 2.5 years, and I hadn't felt like we'd made any ground.
Yeah. Okay. I can do that.
And
Yeah.
I was about to leave on a trip with some buddies to go summit a mountain.
Yeah.
And then I before I left, I gave Shannon a note. I mean, you don't need to say the note
Go into
because we've
that,
already got
yeah.
that, but just to connect those two things.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
we've got time and we've got you setting up this trip and kind of what it means.
Okay.
I think sometimes it'll just help. You can, I don't know what Gary would say about this, but sometimes to me, like, it's easy to kind of base everything on the affair. There's like what is like pre-affair and post-affair. So if it's just like about 2.5 years after
Yeah.
the affair, after our world fell apart, to me that's kind of
Yeah.
helpful, just like as a
Okay.
concrete timeline
Right. Okay.
or moment.
All right. I'll see what I can do with that.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Okay. So now it's been 2.5 years since all this came into the open, since the affair was known and I resigned. 2.5 years of being in the wilderness, feeling hopeless, not knowing what I could do to fix this. Taking some ground and then feeling like we would lose it again. 2.5 years of that. And me and a couple friends decided to go summit a mountain in Colorado. And I remember so clearly before we went on that trip, I was at a place where I wrote Shannon this long letter and explained in this letter how I was not coming back unless God did something of significance in my life. Not like a threat, not like to worry her. It was just, I knew that she and my boys deserved more than what they were getting from me. And I was just confessing to her, if I don't come back different, then I'm not coming back. Is that somewhat right? Go ahead. You can clean it up if you want.
That's good. I don't have any more notes unless you just want to talk about it being a process a little bit more.
Oh yeah, just to put a timeline on
Yeah.
that, it was before, like, at what point would you have been like, this is the marriage that God
Yeah.
had for us? Like,
So just kind of timeline it like we just did with in relation to
Yeah.
Labor Day.
I just want to know that it wasn't, however you want to say it, I just want to know that it didn't take 2 years to
Right.
fix your marriage or to be restored or have hope again.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that fit in the context of some of your final questions about what's life like now? Does it fit in that context?
Yeah, I don't think yet. Don't worry about that. Just tell me kind of what's on your heart as far as that goes, and we can navigate from there.
Okay.
You were saying some stuff earlier, just like 2 years and then 3 years and 4 years. And
Yeah.
it just kind of gave me a sense of like, okay, this is a long time.
Yeah, let me try it this way, and,
Yeah, that's great,
and you
that's great.
correct it
Yeah.
if you don't like it.
Yeah.
I felt like that moment on top of the mountain, 2.5 years into being back in Tulsa. I felt like that moment on the mountain was a beginning. I mean, up until that point, we hadn't taken any significant ground. But from that moment, we began to take steps in the right direction. And it took a long time before I could really see the light at the end of the tunnel. I knew that I was moving in the right direction. I knew that God had given me something that was going to bring us to a better place, but it didn't happen overnight. Literally from that day on the mountain, it took years before I felt like Shannon and I were at a place that I could celebrate, that we could rejoice, that we were thoroughly satisfied with. Now, we're still working on it today, just like any marriage is, but from Labor Day 2009 to probably just a year or so ago, it was tough. It was hard. It wasn't easy, but God was with us every step of the way. And now we have a completely different relationship. It took a long time, but it was worth it. It was worth all those years, all that process, all those baby step forward, baby step back, take ground, lose ground. It was worth all of that because in the end, when God put our hearts where they were supposed to be, that's when we really started to rebuild our marriage the way He intended. Am I anywhere close to what you're
that's
wanting?
awesome.
Trying to emphasize that timeline and that
No, you're
process.
good.
Is that okay?
No, yeah, that's great.
Okay.
So if we leverage this for some, like Marty had said, something about like if we used your story at the church for it being like, do you remember this?
Well, the other thing we talked about today is just celebrating like where your marriage is today. That was a big deal. In fact, that was the only question I wrote down, which I feel like we have. We could hit it again, but I feel like we're there and we have.
I think of like David in the Bible, like after the whole Bathsheba thing and all that, killing a man and having or I guess he had an affair, or he was, however that
is the
would
story.
define
Yes.
it. But like God still said after that, God still called David a man of God.
Right.
And to me, that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
Like even, I don't know if you ever saw that like even after all that God would still say,
Sure.
He is a man after my own heart.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool. But, that's
Yeah,
just
for sure. I mean, that's been a comfort and an encouragement to me. I mean, when you go through something like this, you begin to start looking at the characters in the Bible that had similar stories and what happened with them and how did they respond and how did they react. And that story of David is huge because, the biggest thing out of that story is he owned it 100% when Nathan came and said, "You are that man," and he didn't make excuses. He owned it. And I tried to do the same. I tried to own it, and it was hard. But yeah, that story has always been an encouragement to me because he was still considered King David, the lineage of Jesus, and nothing negative in the mind of God or the Israelites as a whole from David, even though he has this terrible blot on his history. So,
What do you say to people? Guys are in your old shoes. What do you say to them?
that's good. I said it just the other night in our life group or our small group with Pastor Greg. His son Ethan is in there, and I don't know. Ethan must be mid-20s, early 20s, and I just said the same thing that I've said in many situations like that. I tell young guys that their star is rising and they're doing incredible things for the kingdom. I tell those guys to lean in to their relationship with God because they don't have to do what I did to learn the lessons that I learned. I believe that 100%. For whatever reason, it was out of this hardship that I learned these lessons. But I beg guys, don't have to crash to figure out that you're not adequate for the task, that you need God's help. Don't make crashing the way you learned that lesson. Be smarter than I was. Be wiser than I was. Learn it from other people like me. Cautionary tale. Learn it. You don't have to be adequate to the task.
What do you say to someone who's hopeless?
Wow. To guys that are hopeless, to ladies that are hopeless, man, I usually say, hey, look at my life, look at our lives. I understand hopelessness. I do. I've walked that path, and I promise you, God will light a way out of that darkness. I know what it's like to be in the wilderness, and God provides a path out of that darkness. Scripture says that it's a light into our path, or a lamp into our path and a light into our feet. I think I got that backwards. Light into our path and a lamp into our feet. It doesn't say how far out ahead. It just says we take the next step and eventually we come out of that hopelessness. And so I just say, look at our lives, look at my life. I can tell you what it's like to want to crash in the plane that you're flying in. I know hopelessness. There is a way out, and it's only through our relationship with God through Christ. That's it. But there is a way out. And it's not just a way out, but there's a way to joy and fulfillment and satisfaction again. Those are the things that seem so elusive when you're in a hopeless state. There's not just a way out of hopelessness. There's a way into joy and into life and into freedom. That's what I would say.
Where is it?
For me, it always was, but I learned the hard way. It is only found in our relationship with God. Christ made that possible, but our relationship with God is the only path to the life that we desire. He created us. Life comes only from Him. When we seek it other places, we never end up finding it. I think I thought I would find it in the validation and the excitement and the ego trip that was this relationship with this woman that wasn't my wife. It was only the opposite. I thought I would find it in being a successful pastor and building a church, and I didn't. I found satisfaction and fulfillment, the kind that I'd always wanted, when it was just me and God, and I realized that that was enough, that He was enough. And from that point, He began to give me the desires of my heart. I didn't even know what they always were, but now I do because He's provided them to me. I won't find life anywhere outside of that relationship with God through Christ. Amanda, I know I'm shining now because I can feel it. I think you turned up the fire and it got hot in here.